Oh, hey there. How's it going? Yeah, just went back from the abyss. Gotta collect that 600 Primo gems somehow. What? You wanna see my build? Alright, here we go. My Xiangling's build.
What in the goddamn?
Genshin Impact is a game where you can build your characters and adjust their stats to create a strong character. Options are HP, defense, attack, EM, ER, healing bonus, and crit stats, where crit rate will increase your chances of doing a critical hit, and crit damage to increase the damage of said critical hit. But what if we don't build any crit rate, and try that on the Spiral Abyss? The rules are simple. I can increase any stats other than crit rate, and my crit rate has to be lower than 30%. I also can't use characters with crit rate extensions because, to be honest, my artifact mostly has crit rate stats, and they will go above 30% crit rate if I build them. Well, can't blame me for being lucky, of course.
Good roll.
Because crit rate is not an option, one thing we can do is to build a full EM team comp, which is why the first team will be a Hyper Bloom Cookie Shinobu. EM Shinobu will be the main DPS with Hyper Bloom, Sucrose as EM buffer to further increase Hyper Bloom damage, Traveler with shitty Dendro build because her task is just to proc Bloom and nothing more, and Xingqiu. He will be a Hydra player and sub DPS because he will be doing damage consistently without critting. I built him with Attack Goblet, so he will have more base damage. The second team will be an Overload comp, with full EM Fischl as the Overload trigger. On this team, we already have an attack buffer, which is Bennett, so we don't really need attack for Xiangling. And I also use crit damage goblet on Xiangling and Bennett, because crit fishing is also a strategy anyways. And look at their stats, such a beautiful 1:14 ratio. And as for Kazuha, I specifically built these shitty EM artifacts because I never used this much full EM characters on Spiral Abyss runs before. And for what it's worth, the Blessing of Dissertation Spiral Abyss will reduce enemies' defense by a lot if I proc Quicken. But Bloom Reaction ignores defense anyway, so I don't think it will influence the run that much, except for Xingqiu's damage. And so we begin the Spiral Abyss. The rotation of the first half is to go for Hydra Infusion on Sucrose, Bloom with Lumine, and Hyper Bloom with Shinobu. The robots here are just HP sponges, no need to be afraid of their attacks. And I also try to hit their weak spots when they try to charge their boss stinging attacks, because when they get hit on the ice, their resistance is reduced by a lot. After that, we just throw our vegetables on them. Next wave is the Flying Ruin Drakes. One thing that interests me is that Xingqiu's burst can hit its eyes while charging the similar attacks with the Land Ring Drakes. So it's really a smooth sailing from here, or should I say smooth flight, because that thing was flying? Okay, never mind. Next half is as straightforward as it gets. I use Fischl's Q, and then Bennett's Q and E, and then Xiangling's Q, and then Kazuha's E and Q, and fast forward a little bit. The enemies are gone. I repeat the same steps in the second wave, and there you have it. 3 stars. Next up is the second chamber. First half is not that bad when you have the power of God and Anemo CC on your side. I just used Sucrose to group them, well at least I tried. It was a bit confusing when all of these humans scattered in 4 different places. But yeah, the damage from Hyper Bloom is so big that it deletes them one by one without me thinking of a proper way to group them. Second half is my favorite part. But one thing to note here is that when you apply yourself with Pyro, either from Bennett's Q or Geofishap's fire attack, you can get yourself hit by its claw attack, which gives Geo damage, and get yourself a free shield, and... and just clean up the rest until he's dead. 3 stars. So the third chamber. Oh boy, the third chamber. The BS of this period's Spiral Abyss. Who would have thought that a big giant lizard has basically the same poise as Hilichurus? These little shits. On my first attempt, I defeated these lizards in 1 minute 15 seconds. That was almost half of the time required to 3-star the floor. And the result is, yeah, you know it yourself. The bubbles did not help either. It was like I'm fighting the bubbles rather than these little shits. I thought I didn't do enough time because Xingqiu didn't have his burst ready when starting the floor, but when I retried it, it was still not enough time. So yeah, I think that was it. It's over. Or is it? The problem with my Abyss run is that either that I don't have enough damage for it, or I don't crit often. Well, because even if I don't build crit on any of my DPS, I could theoretically still crit. So there are two choices I could make. Either I fish for crits on my second half, or just increase my overall damage. Because you know, I started the Abyss run by using level 80 Cookie Shinobu, while Hyper Bloom damage scales largely from levels. So obviously I went to the most consistent choice. So yeah, here we go again. I went to the Stormy Island to collect wheats while singing a depressing song at 1 AM in the morning. Oh, and also shooting balloons, just to make this beautiful, masked anime girl slightly more powerful than before. Is it worth it? The answer is yes.
One with wind and cloud. Teamwork is dreamwork. Let's light it up. Shadow Raven. Don't worry, I got this. Let's light it up. Your toes. Autumn leaves adorn my night. Go in. Let's light it up. Nice and space. Let's light it up! Everybody stand!
As you wish, Mayflower. Wind strike!
So can we defeat the Spiral Abyss without building crit stats? The answer is absolutely yes, especially in this patch. Dendro, or should I say Hyper Bloom, is so powerful that you don't really need any big investments on any of your character. Just get your EM substats and a little bit of ER and you're good to go. But how about the next enemy rotation? We'll just find out when the time comes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!